Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Becoming the 1% podcast. Today, my guest is Anthony Carey. He is the inventor of the Core-Tex and the Core-Tex Sit. He is the author of the Pain-Free Program. He is 2009 PFP Magazine Personal Trainer of the Year. Together, we talk about balance, stability, the application to older adults and special populations, and how those methods can be applied to anybody, anywhere, anytime. Enjoy the episode.
Anthony, how are you?
Spectacular.
Thank you so much for coming on and making the trip.
I'm loving it so far.
I am so over the top excited to get a hold of your training methods. I want to hear how you invented your product, your piece, your companies. I would love if you would kind of take the reins here in the beginning. What I like to do is just get a feel for you. Where do you come from? How did you start? How'd you get in this business? And how have you ended up where you're at today?
Well, I've been in it a long time, so that's kind of a long story, so I'll do my best to abbreviate it.
We got time.
Good. Almost 30 years in the industry, actually. Okay. Started our company Function First, which was my first company, which is still in existence back in 1994, before the word function was like every other syllable in the industry. But and that business is still in existence, predominantly around working with people with chronic pain. I've actually had the privilege of working with people from 33 states and 17 countries who have flown to San Diego to work with me.
And that's where you're based, is in San Diego?
Yes, sir. That's where we've been based the entire time. I'm originally from New Jersey, moved out to San Diego for graduate school, and never looked back, as you could imagine. New Jersey's a great place to be from, as we say. But then, I've had the opportunity also to speak a lot and teach a lot. Very niche in what we do on that side of things. My personal professional mission has always been about helping people move better, and how that relates to chronic pain influences sort of the brain's perception of threat and things like that. There's only so much we could do in terms of scaling service, and that's one day many years ago I was standing in a squat rack and I had this vision of standing on a skateboard in a bowl. And that's where the idea of, and I wasn't doing it about balance. So anybody that is familiar with Core-Tex, our flagship product.
Yeah.
Very often it's referred to as a balance device. And we always say you get balance for free because it comes with it. But a big part of what it was about introducing variability to the body. Right?
Yes.
So anytime you're on a surface that provides changes while you're on it.
Unexpected movement.
Unexpected, and it could be purposeful, but we describe it as a pitch and a catch, and sometimes a pitch again, and sometimes a catch again. And basically, there's this interaction that's going on with the environment that you're in, and that adds novelty, differences to how the tissue has to respond, how different problems that the motor system has to solve, right?
Yeah.
So the software is saying, can I handle this? And then, of course, it's not loading the same structures over and over again, which a lot of the linear stuff that we do has a tendency to do. So it's an aspect of training, for understanding the body. And as long as I've been in this, I don't think that everything should be pigeonholed into any one particular direction. And, so the types of people that I work with, which include professional athletes and entertainers and things like that, they see me for a specific reason. They're going to go to their strength coaches and their speed coaches and their physical therapists for the things that they need. But understanding that we could provide an environment that is an adjunct to all that kind of care, all that performance, mobility, whatever it is, that's really been what my goal has been with the product. And then how that relates to getting people to move better is my mission.
Yeah, and that translates so well to real life, especially in the sports performance side of things. But forget the sports performance, just real life. If I'm picking up my kids, I've got one of them and I'm walking, and then all of a sudden the dog runs by. If I arch or I twist, things don't happen in an even barbell 45-45 setting in real life.
Correct.
That's what a lot of times people don't understand when they train in just one plane of motion, or they train in just one specific parameter. They don't prepare themselves for the, changes that happen outside of the gym. Outside of the gym, everything's uneven. You'll carry groceries, they weigh this much. You'll carry your kid, they weigh this much. Everything changes. And that's what dragged me so much toward your product. And remind me, so that right there in that picture on this page, your sort of flagship product, if you will, that is called
Core-Tex.
Core-Tex. Okay, so that is the Core-Tex platform. And walk me through it. How is it made? How did you achieve this? I've never seen anything like this.
Well, it's patented, number one, so that's good news.
Yeah, it is good news.
and it's actually really simple. People look at it all the time and say it's so simple. When you take that top off, you'll see 3 ball transfers, and it's like a 3-legged stool. So that underside, that dome shape, is always in contact with the surface. So there's no skipping, no hopping. That's why it's so smooth. People think it's on magnets sometimes when they see it.
Yeah.
But there's the combination of the tilt, but then it slides, or what we call it translates at the same time, and it rotates unrestricted in 360 degrees. That almost leaves an infinite number of opportunities of directional motions, or vectors, as we would say in biomechanics.
Yeah.
That it's capable of.
Look at that. And that's I haven't seen this video. That's an incredible combination. You got the blaze pods, some cones, and the Core-Tex.
Yeah, and that's because I've done 10,000 hours on the Core-Tex. So
because you could do that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I was gonna say, how difficult is this? I mean, to be able to get up and surf like you just did in that video while hitting the blaze pods. I mean, how long on average would that take someone to master?
Well, see, that's kind of the paradigm of this. That's kind of where people think it's really hard, and it is when you first get on it. But the learning curve is so quick because you realize there's only so far it can go. So initially, it's like the floor moving underneath you. You're going to panic, right? And everybody
sure. Yeah.
But then, as soon as you get an idea of, because there's a stopper in there, it's only going to go so far. It's not an infinite motion.
You can't. It's not like a skateboard where you can literally exit the vehicle and crash. Okay, that's good to know. I appreciate that.
There's an inner bumper that limits the overall amount of motion that it's capable of there. So it'll have an end stop point. And that, of course, once you understand sort of what that range is, you start to relax a little bit on it.
Yeah.
So you would probably be in 10 minutes max.
Sure.
Max, you'd be doing it with
being
no
able
hands.
to move around with it with no hands.
Yep.
Yeah, and how would I notice that it also comes with, you've got your safety rails, for lack of a better terminology, one, and then I've seen them with 2 as well.
Correct.
What is the difference between those? Why use 1? Why use 2? Why use none?
Well, if you went with none, the beauty of that is, especially for any of the groundwork, you have 360-degree access to the platform, right? So you could do things, we would describe it as like a plank with locomotion. So you're
Like going around in a circle.
Yeah,
I get it.
You're
Yeah,
traditionally in it, or you could do that with push-ups. You can do any, but you can have 360-degree access around it. About 80% of what you would do, you could do with a single handrail, but we can't. We came out with a second handrail because we had so much interest in the rehab side of things. So in physical therapy clinics, and also for the senior population. So people find it easier to step into it, handrail on each side, than stepping onto it, where you would grab the one handrail with 2 hands.
Yeah.
But, again, you're going to do 80% of what you would probably do with the one handrail. And when you have 2 handrails, it just pops on and off. So your 2 handrail, your dual, we call it, could become the RT, which is the one handrail.
That box you gave me, does that contain the whole system? I mean, is it that portable and that compatible?
Yeah.
You can take it all apart. It's like you can take 3 parts: your platform, your sphere, and then I assume your 2 handrails. You can take them all apart.
The one you have is the one handrail, but
okay.
Basically it comes in, but everything's in that box.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned the senior population, because for me, special populations is probably the most fascinating subgroup to work with. I like that. I like working with youth. I like working with elderly. I like the challenges that come with that, and they're very specific and niche. How has this translated to that? First off, just out of curiosity, do you have any any videos of maybe seniors or older adults?
Yeah, coincidentally, we're just finishing up Active Aging Week.
Really?
It's a national Active Aging Week. It's not mine, but at the very top of our feed, the very top of our feed, you're going to see at least 2, maybe 3 that are all seniors there.
Up there on the left?
There you go,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and you're using the power block. Is that what that is?
It's a power plate.
Power plate, that's it.
And she's doing a shoulder stabilization on the power plate because the vibration is going through her hand.
It's moving.
But she's doing actually an abdominal exercise right there.
Yes, she is.
Now, just to add to that, which most people won't see, is that any little sort of shift in her weight on the way back, it's not like she's on a slide board, right? It's going to tilt a little bit. She's going to have to correct
left
it.
and right.
Yeah,
you have to keep a straight line.
Yeah, and she's just going to have to react to all those little different changes. So,
because as you know, 55 plus, the thing that I think starts to go, in addition to, everyone always claims muscle atrophy, which of course happens, but balance and mobility for our senior populations. As coaches, we see that is always lacking. Something like this, of course, it's really cool to see the dude doing push-ups and spinning it and doing that's fun. But seeing that, to me, is what is so impressive about this. The fact that you have a bandwidth with your product that can go youth all the way up until you're dead is what has made this what it is.
And that was by design. What you see some of the seniors doing up there is the mobility aspects, and that we refer to the mobility applications of Core-Tex as the secret weapon because nobody sees that. But when you are using oscillating motions through multiple vectors, you're stimulating the tissue and the slide and the glide, the interface of the connective tissue and the muscles.
Yep.
And you're not trying to have somebody who's 55 plus who's already had physiological characteristical changes to their tissue, trying to hold a static yoga type stretch, right? You're letting them go through this motion, creates a natural slide and glide, down regulates the tone of the tissue, meaning the volume gets turned down on the holding, and then they get better motion when they're done without being super uncomfortable the way they might in a lot of other flexibility type applications.
Or strength applications. I mean, doing that requires so much strength, but it's done in a way that it's because as we get older, you're spending less and less time in the squat rack. You're spending less and less time under those load-bearing movements. So getting something like this, look at that. That's outstanding. Obviously, that's not Active Aging Week. This is an elite athlete, but that's a good example of somebody, even an intermediate athlete, take the TRX, take the core, and just try to hold on. That's a lot of strength right there.
Yeah.
So this product, I think, probably special populations are going to get the most out of this because everything has a balance aspect to it. I love that. I think this is so cool.
Thank you. And again, we really think of the product as an environment, right? So you can have the active aging population doing their mobility or their strength work. You can have NFL players rehabbing their ACL, and you could have the CrossFit crowd doing high impact, crazy banana stuff on it as well.
Yeah.
How do you want to use it? It's a tool.
It's got like I mentioned earlier. It's got such bandwidth, and for me, I think you even mentioned when we started this, you're like, where are you going to put this? I'm only accepting of equipment that I know has a large population associated with it, because for us, we have to be just incredibly selective on what we bring in, what I implement into my training. For me, my people, my population that I work with, they're kind of the most important people in my life. And that to me is why everything we're doing here is so complimentary and so cool for the client. You've got incredible outreach done through all of the marketing that allows this kind of relationship to form. From this relationship, I get access to people who have the knowledge and the base of understanding to make these incredible pieces of equipment. And then my clients get to experience the equipment from the relationship that we form. Yes. So it all kind of works out together very beautifully. And this is, again, I reached out to you guys for maybe even like 6 months when this was first sent to me. And most of this stuff, you'll be happy to know, we briefly talked about TikTok, and we're going to circle back to that because I'm going to get you on that platform. Someone from TikTok sent us your product. And that's how our marketing outreach works in two directions. Of course, we send information to our audience about certain things like this. Hey, this is the Core-Tex, check this out. But our audience also sends us things. Hey, have you seen this? Can you reach out to them? I really want to know about this. That's how this came about. 6 months ago, someone sent us a video of that thing, and I was like, "What in the world is that?" And awesome. I think I saw it. It was an older person was on it. I was like, "There's a lot to this." Yeah. And I want to also make sure that I mention this while I'm still thinking about it. You guys, you may not be on TikTok, but you guys have done a very good job on your Instagram. As a coach and as somebody who wants to be a teacher and a purveyor of really good information, I look for companies that have spent the time to educate the populations on what it is that they're selling. You guys have done that very, very well through the use of your Instagram.
Appreciate that.
And today, I cannot stress this enough. Having a healthy social media page with useful knowledge to back up, especially a product like this, where if someone had no knowledge on this, they could jump on that, slide right off, and get hurt.
Right.
This way, they go to your page, they see, okay, here are some, that's a really good movement. Oh, that's an even better movement. Oh, here are the steps to get on, here to get off. Your page is a huge part of who you are. And it's a huge part of why we're having this conversation, because I see, with all of my knowledge and everything I have in there, I've never used your product. So if I am a new client or a new coach who wants to get that going with my periodization, I need to have somewhere to go. So where do I go? I go to your page. And your page, I've looked through it for a couple hours yesterday, just prepping for all of this. the movements on this. No two are the same. You've
Right.
done a very, very good job of getting this with good coaches. You've got great coaches using this because they have good ideas.
And as you've noticed, there's a ton of user-generated content, which we're super appreciative of. And, I've learned from our customers.
Isn't
we've
that
got
fun?
people out there doing stuff, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that.
Oh, exactly.
That is amazing.
Same here. I get people who, in one message, they'll message me and they'll be like, what you're doing is what I aspire to be. I would give anything to be where you're at. And then the next day they'll post something and I didn't know how to do that. That was really good. Like, how did you come up? Oh, I just thought about it and did it. So everything in this world, if you do it right,
Yep.
your information should just come to you. And like you said, you guys have a deep understanding of the value of collaboration, which is why your pages and your product is so valuable. Because something like this, with all those coaches behind it, with all those movements, you've got a look at that. That is so cool. You've got a training methodology all by itself, just with your page and your product. Someone could start their gym sincerely with 3 or 4 of those and an open room, and your Instagram. They could get a few things going and start their little camp, and they could make a decent little go of it just with your products. And not a lot of people can say that.
I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
appreciate that very much. Yeah. And if they want to go deep in the education, we got longer videos on YouTube.
Have you guys ever considered doing some kind of a certification specifically geared toward your product?
We do have an educational platform, actually, in terms
cool.
of we have a 4-hour course, and then we've also have master trainers. I've trained a couple of master trainers that have come in actually from different parts of the world as well that have come in, and we've done that. And part of that is to help with the international distribution that we have. And so international master trainers can go to these distributors, train their staff, and that sort of thing. Starting 2020, live education really kind of went downhill a lot. There's been a lull in it in all kinds of products, including, I'm big fans of TRX. I know Randy and Fraser and those guys from the get-go, old friends of mine.
Oh, you'll have to hook me up. I'd love to talk with them.
Oh, sure.
TRX is outstanding. It's
yeah.
Ancient company now. It's been around forever.
Yeah.
TRX changed the game for a while.
They really did, and especially on the education side, right? So they actually had a model that worked better than anybody. But even everybody saw it drop off. In part, it's just because the trainers aren't paying for it, or the clubs aren't paying for it either. They're not paying for equipment-specific education the way they used to. And part of that is because, unfortunately, in our industry, in the commercial world, out there in the big box stuff, it's churn and burn for a lot of the trainers, right?
Yeah.
The ones that get good end up like you, running their own shop, right?
Yeah. And it doesn't matter how good you get, you have to stay a sponge.
Yes.
I just finished the PPSC. You familiar with that certification? The Pain-Free Performance Specialist?
Yeah.
I just did that. It was outstanding. I just finished it this last weekend. That's a perfect example. My favorite types of seminars and certifications and continued education are from companies that make unique technology. I love those because at the end of the day, the PPSC was great, and I did get a couple nuggets from it, but if you're going to walk me through like a foundational, okay, here are the tenets of warm-up, here's how you want to structure your periodization, like most of that I've got my grip on. But something like this, I've never stepped on this before. If you tell me, hey, I've got a master class, by the way, if you come out to San Diego, you spend 6 hours with us, I'll show you, I'll get you, you'll be certified in this, this, and this. That to me, I love that. It's why I think one of the first companies that really did that was TRX.
Yeah.
I remember they had their product, and then they had those big course curriculums, and they were really one of the first companies that I remember doing that. I still haven't taken it, but that to me is what I like. I like broadening my bandwidth with equipment because you really can never learn it all.
Right.
That's what's so incredibly fascinating toward me because my mind, I'm kind of a junkie for this stuff. I like to learn. I always want to be learning. If you're not learning, you're dying. And so to me, right. I have to be learning. And I love this business because this business is filled with some of the most incredible engineers, inventors, entrepreneurs. I mean, everything. Thinkers.
Yeah.
To come up with that stuff. And for me, I'm great because, I mean, I don't really think of myself as a thinker, but I'm really good at accumulating the knowledge that other people have come up with and applying it to this little space for, 15, 20 clients. And that's what I'm happy with.
And there's small amounts of things that are new. Right? Right?
Yeah,
we get new insights into some of the literature as the research comes out, but a lot of things are just built upon existing things, and then there'll be some really kind of out of the box type stuff, and then there'll be a bunch of copycats and that kind of stuff too. But it's nice, and we all do that, right? So everything that we do in anything, including what I do with my chronic pain clients, including what I've done with the reactive training business, is I've learned. I grab one of my mentors, who's my advisor, is the founder of Total Gym, Tom Campanaro.
Oh wow,
he's my guy, man. I have a weekly huddle with him. He's brilliant. The best-selling piece of exercise equipment of all time.
Yeah, it is.
And
how long's he been in the industry? 50 years, something like that?
They started in the 70s.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to talk to him too.
He is the coolest guy in the world.
Is he?
He's so chill, and he's brilliant. Yeah, and nobody has a bad word to say about him either.
You get a lot of that in this industry too.
Yeah.
By and large, and I'm seeing that a lot because of this podcast. I'm getting to actually face-to-face meet some of these people, and I'm learning that there is no shortage of incredibly genuine and smart and just really great people in this industry. Fitness is awesome.
It is.
I love this industry. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. You go, I don't know. I mean, my only other really experience was real estate, and to me, real estate was like just kind of the opposite. It just wasn't like not really that great thinkers. They're really not. I mean, this is sort of broad brushing it, but I didn't experience a lot of genuine people. Everybody seems to kind of be faking it. I don't know. But for me, I've had incredible experiences in fitness, and this has allowed sort of that to continue to grow. And you mentioned that, there's very little change in the industry with regards to training methodology as things go on. I mean, it's true because, sports performance is now not a nuanced thing. I mean, we've been doing this for a while now. This is sort of, but where I see small changes and sometimes even larger changes is equipment, is technology, and the minds that you've now got an industry where someone with maybe even a suboptimal athletic background, maybe they were never a pro athlete, but maybe they were a very brilliant mind, maybe they were a mathematician or an engineer, and they came up with something very, very unique. This, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the squeeze bar, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. There are pieces of technology now that are making big changes in the industry, things that do have a big ripple effect. And while the training itself may not change, and our bodies obviously haven't changed, we're still the same creatures we were in the 70s and 80s and 90s, but the technology to safely train and save people's humanity and their lives and their ability to recover and all the things you've mentioned, technology has allowed that to expand.
Absolutely. And I think of those as just pillars that we're building upon, right? With the technology, with the insights that we're getting from the literature, the recovery, I've always said, when I'm running we used to run my group where people be working out and we say, just 1% better today. 1% better.
Love that.
Yep.
Love that.
Tell them it's the law of cumulative gains, man. Just 1%, right?
Yeah.
It's like compounding interest.
Exactly like that. You're speaking my lingo. I don't know how many times I said it. Look, it's like the law of compounding interest. Yeah. You're not going to see the results now. Think of the you in a year or 3 or 5 from now, and all the times that are spent between then and now. Then you can look back and say, oh, all right. Well, yeah, 1 year ago, I'm at a better place.
Yes.
And speaking to this, I mean, the becoming the 1% thing, for me, it was very important to me that what we do in here in this room when it comes to the bandwidth of guests and who we could talk to, I wanted to talk to anyone who was really excelling in their field. And of course, a lot of that is fitness just by the nature of who we are. But I have found that the mindset of people who are excelling tends to be similar when you get to this group of people.
Yeah.
When it's somebody who really does have that type of mentality where it's like, okay, I want something that is going to make the best versions of other people. That's usually where you find these people. That's usually where the mindset's at. And it doesn't even have to be fitness. It could be, again, we're expanding the bandwidth of who we want to talk to. But the 1% thing was, it couldn't have been better phrased, in my opinion, for who we want to discuss things with.
Well, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm humbled that you guys have thrown me in the mix a little bit. Thank you.
It was an easy decision for me. I'm happy that it became an episode as well, because I didn't we didn't know if the schedules would align. To me, this is kind of what it's all about, and you're going to get a lot more from it. And our people, both yours and mine, will get a lot more from this kind of long format discussion than they will from a reel.
Yeah.
And that's what you realize when you start doing this kind of discussion, over time. People will get bigger bouts of information than they would if you just segmented it into 60 seconds and pushed it.
I agree.
A lot of their questions get answered without them even asking them.
Yeah.
That's why podcasts are great.
Exactly. Big fan.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me where you see this going. What is, in your opinion, the future of Core-Tex?
Well, as I mentioned, we had a second product that just came out last year, the Core-Tex Sit, which is a smaller version. It's a little bit more consumer facing, but
it's got two little slide pads on it, right?
It's the same thing. It's very similar to the larger product.
See if you can find it. It's a small. I see it right.
It is. There's a couple of them. We actually have another page. Core-Tex_Sit is its own page, but it is on this page as well. But it's the same motion. It tilts. Mm-hmm. It slides and it rotates unrestricted. It's only 14 inches in diameter. You put it on your chair, and it's all about variability. So
it's for people who are sitting.
That is the primary reason. So it's low back pain, prolonged sitting stuff, postpartum stuff for women after childbirth.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's great for the pelvic floor.
For the pelvic floor, yeah, of course. Because of the process of birth and everything that happens to the pelvic floor. I mean, and so this is a way to strengthen it.
Yes, yeah. Because it's unlike the Core-Tex, a larger product. This one is convex on top, so it's got a little dome shape.
Got it. So
your sit bones sit a little differently. It unloads the tailbone, puts a little general upward pressure on the perineum, and all that works well in terms of getting the pelvic floor to fire and relax.
Does this have a place in training? This, as opposed to the other Core-Tex, to the bigger model?
It does. Some people and we definitely got people using it in home gyms. We have some fitness type exercises that you can do with it. Imagine doing a plank. You can put one hand on the floor and do a plank or push up on it. You can put your upper back on it, and you can bridge on it, and then you still get that little bit of stuff.
Sure.
So people, mostly home gym stuff. So it's 90% consumer facing. We're also in some physical therapy clinics, especially women's health clinics, and then people that get it for home for their sitting will also, hey, I can get a couple other exercises out of this while I'm working out at home as well.
Yeah. It seems like it's got its own sort of set of exercises. Is there anything on this that you can do that you can't accomplish with the larger model, or are they pretty?
Yes.
Okay,
actually, it's interesting. If that one in the middle. Just below that one, where the hand on the wall. This is really cool. It's a great shoulder rotator cuff stability exercise. It's great for motion of the upward and downward rotation of the scapula.
Look at that.
You can also do your little band exercises. You see people doing that kind of thing with the mini band around the wrist.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If you do that on that,
and so you have to apply pressure in order to keep that up against the wall. Is that
minor? The
minor.
It only weighs 4.5 pounds, so you use a little bit of pressure to keep it on the wall, and then and you get all those variable motions again. Kind of cues a lot of interesting stuff for the humeral scapular rhythm and what they do together.
That is very cool.
Yes, that's a one big thing that's distinctly different. And of course, being able to put it on your chair. At home.
Right, yeah. For the chair and up for the wall is the two. And then, of course, everything else probably can be accomplished with the big Core-Tex.
Yes.
Would you say the bigger one is more suited for training?
Absolutely.
Yeah, when it comes to, I suppose that's a self-explanatory question.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. No, they're both very good. And is this a separate page I'm seeing?
It is, actually. Yeah, Core-Tex_Sit is the... but they're both under the same company. But we do sprinkle it in the other page, the reactive training page. Sometimes we throw some of the sit stuff in.
So reactive training is the name of the company. Core-Tex is the product.
Yes.
Gotcha. Outstanding. Other than that, is there anywhere else that people would go for information other than social media? Is there anywhere else? You mentioned you have a website.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
CoreTexFitness.com.
Outstanding.
That is, and there's all kinds of stuff on there. Our video library that's on there, which is the YouTube stuff that goes a little bit deeper. Lots of background applications on the product, blog posts, all that fun stuff.
And you mentioned that you also have a sort of a virtual experience for people, or a certification somehow virtual, something that people can pay for more education on it. Is that on your website?
We the training for Core-Tex is not virtual. Okay. Although an individual who buys a Core-Tex and wants to have a virtual session with a coach can do that. But the education for trainers is not there. My other business, the Function First and the chronic pain stuff, we have a whole lot of educational training online for that. We have a whole curriculum on that side of things.
Gotcha. For the chronic pain, is this a cornerstone for your methodology using Core-Tex?
Yes and no. And I only say that because for years, one of our big, again, pillars or values was everything that you could do with me in my studio at Function First, you can reproduce on your own at home without having to buy any equipment. But again, that umbrella philosophy that I have about novelty and variability and movement and how important that is to the body, Core-Tex became that environment to do that. So we do have clients that buy it and want to buy it, and now they want to buy the sit, especially because I see a lot of low back chronic pain, low back stuff,
and everything.
But they don't have to. They don't have to get that product if they don't want to.
Right.
They should.
That is a rock and a hard place because if you're telling them, hey, everything you do here you can replicate on your own, you don't have to buy anything, but then you got this great product that will really, really help out inside of the studio. I mean, I know which way I'd go. I'd get the product and bring it in and be like, hey, we're using this. Maybe you don't have this at home. You can replicate it at home, but you got to get it. Either way, if I'm talking pain-free movements or I'm wanting to fix somebody's postural integrity, I would definitely have one or two. Or I definitely have one.
Yeah, we have them in the studio. People are able to use them and see them, and I do introduce them. But that's it. Like you said, it's a rock and a hard place.
Who do you see the most? Who comes to you as a demographic of, hey, I have pain, I need help? Who is that?
Yes.
If you had to kind of pick a certain demographic.
Yes. I've seen everything from 10 and 12-year-old kids and all the way up to I saw 90-some-year-old twins one time that both came in to see me.
Really?
Two women. But, I would say the majority are 50s to 50 to 75 probably. Mm-hmm.
Is there a most common injury or location of injury that you see that come in to see you? I mean, is it low back? Is it what is it that you find to be the most prevalent in that demographic?
8.5 out of 10 people in the industrialized world are going to experience low back pain at some point in their life. And I see the chronic stuff. So chronic is a different animal than acute pain, right? So somebody tweaks their back over the weekend and they're kind of all bent over. That's not the person who's going to see me, or the person that's had might have screaming sciatic pain down their leg, and they need to see the medical process. Chronic pain is completely different. A lot of times it's there's the association with the pain and any kind of tissue damage is none actually. And people may have degenerative changes from age and all that, but the neuroscience and the way chronic pain has changed, we're coming at it a completely different way. We are coming at it from a biomechanical standpoint, giving them exercises that remove mechanical stress, but we're also talking to them about kind of there's a paradigm around chronic pain now. It's referred to the biopsychosocial model, and it's again a three-legged stool using that metaphor, but the bio is everything we've always thought about pain, right? It's the biomechanics, it's the biology, it's the biopathology, it's the biochemistry, the inflammation, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the psychology is our expectations, our attitudes about healing, what our belief systems are based on.
I'm never going to get better.
Exactly. Or I'm older, so I'm supposed to have pain, or my mom had pain, and all that kind of stuff, right? And the social leg of it are the social pressures that would be associated with it. I can't take care of my kids. Am I going to be able to earn enough money? I can't sit through this movie with this date, whatever it is. All three of those are highly intertwined. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
And so our vehicle is exercise, but we have to appreciate, understand, and acknowledge and have empathy for the psychological and the social pressures. And everybody's pain experience is 100% unique.
Yeah.
Right? You and I could describe the same here on my back, but the way it impacts you, your business, your home, your life with your dog, whatever, the way it impacts me with my life, my business, my kids, whatever it is, it's going to be distinctly different. Even though we're both saying, oh, that's an 8 right there. Oh, mine's an 8 right there too. Completely different experiences that we have, right?
Yeah.
And so being able to give people exercises, coach them through some of this, help them understand what's going on with their pain that way, it's a game changer. So it's got to be the right exercises, but you also change their kind of their thought process and sort of, rewrite the script and on what their expectations are around pain.
Yeah.
And it makes a big difference in people's lives.
Oh, 100%. When it comes to the mental understanding surrounding injury, it's very fascinating to me how people translate, especially if this information comes from their doctor.
Yep.
You know, if you and I had back pain and we went in to see a specialist and he said, okay, if you ever bend over and pick up anything other than a piece of mail, your back's going to give out forever and you're going to be in a wheelchair. Well, you and I would probably be like, yeah, I don't really think I believe you. I'll figure this out. But a lot of people, they hear that from their physician and that's it. They're like, okay, well, I can never, the number of people that tell me, I can't squat. My doctor said, don't squat. I can't lift anything more than the mail. Like, that's it. And I'm like, well, you sit down, you stand up, you do squat, you have the ability to do those things. Let's work on it. Let's figure it out. And you also mentioned something interesting, which was chronic inflammation. Have you ever done any investigation into contrast therapy for the removal of chronic inflammation, anything like that? Because that's a big thing that we do here. All of my clients, they train, and then contrast therapy is included with each session. Typically, they'll do a separation where they'll do training in the morning and then contrast therapy in the afternoon or the evening. But for me, I've seen incredible results for clients who have come in with pre-existing issues and for clients who haven't and just kind of continued training without issue. And I think a big part of that is because of contrast therapy.
Well, and both of them, both the heat and the cold, even independently, have tons of value to it. Both from a recovery but even an anti-aging side of things, right?
Yeah.
And the
hair, skin,
science is just coming out on that left and right now. How good it is. I mean, there's literally specific protocols at the temperatures that you'll get the maximum benefit. That's data driven, right? It's not just like, hey, I feel good when I come out of the sauna, whether it's at this temperature or that temperature. Like you need a minimum of this, or cold exposure, you need a minimum of this amount of time over the course of
a week.
All that. So absolutely.
And a lot of times it's actually not as invasive as people think. I tell my clients, you don't have to, I mean, I'll sit in the ice for 10 minutes, but that's not, you don't have to. You can go in there for 90 seconds. You get 90 seconds, you get benefits from the cold. And the same thing with the sauna. If you get it up enough time and you break a sweat and you go in there, well, this will help you. This will help with detox, with inflammation, with continued health. And that to me is because we're not, at least not yet, we're hoping to expand into PT a lot more aggressively. We've got we got an area we're going to demo and actually make into a PT clinic here at the house. But up until now, contrast therapy has sort of been our, fix the problem if it arises, in addition to whatever work I do with you in that gym. Doing that preemptively has been very successful for a lot of the clients that come here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Because a lot of places won't have that, right? They don't have, people aren't going to be able to, don't have them in their homes.
No.
So the ability to be able to double dip with that and getting an exercise program for you is, that's good stuff for any client.
It absolutely is. It works out. And for me, it's the only way to get the full spectrum done. You just feel amazing when you're done with it. If you do contrast therapy and you're done, it's outstanding. Well, okay. Where can people find you? That's the big question. If someone wants to get a hold of you, Anthony, you've given us some great stuff here today. We've had a lot of really good information. I know people are going to have questions. Where should people go if they want to get those questions answered?
Depends what kind of questions they are.
Okay.
They can find definitely some general information on cortexfitness.com, which if they want to find some stuff about the product and applications, and we've actually had research done on it, and there's other research in the works done on the product. The American Council on Exercise did commissioned a study on it 2 years ago.
Oh, cool.
So it meets all the requirements of the American College of Sports Medicine's. It outlines for a healthy or necessary exercise program.
Yeah.
So there was a study done on that. We've had a pilot study done on it at Western State University, which is a physical therapy school in LA.
Yeah.
And then Long Beach State is actually starting one with seniors.
Wow. So you're going to have a few, so then it's peer-reviewed research. You're going to have some stuff that backs you up. That's
the first one, the one that ACE commissioned already it's been in a journal, everything. It's all been out in peer-reviewed journal. So, and I'm, I have a graduate degree, my graduate degree is in biomechanics. So I'm a data-driven kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I understand.
I could tell
the need to have that. I mean, yes, there's anecdotal stuff, but can we quantify it somehow, and it not just be about Anthony thinks this works, so let's do it.
Well, especially today, because everything is so incredibly everything is incredibly cutthroat when it comes to something new age or anything new technology, anything you're claiming works.
Yeah.
It's like what I just said with the contrast therapy. We'll have 6 or 7 people message in and be like, yeah, there's no backing to prove the contrast therapy. Whatever it is you say, it's always nice to have a backdrop of,
Sure.
oh yeah, no, if you want to read it, you're not going to, but here's a research paper, here's a peer reviewed thing on what I was talking about.
And we should have.
You should have it. Yeah. As
We
a
should have
professional,
that, right.
you should always have something backing what it is you're saying. You don't want to just be one of these people that gimmicks their way through the industry and just talks.
Right.
So that's outstanding. You've got 2-3 articles on your methods and on your technology.
Two in the works. One already published. And then they get more on the sort of chronic pain side of things. They can find that at functionfirst.com, which is the corrective exercise side of things that we do, and a lot of the education and speaking that I do around biomechanics and stuff is through that channel.
Mm-hmm. So that'd be more for the PTs for corrective exercises and injury recovery. That'd be where they would probably want to go. Yes.
Well, and there's a lot of trainers that are looking to be able to understand if we're all seeing people in pain, if we understand the pain science and some applications and some sort of a direction that we can do with our chronic pain clients, there's a lot of resources that are available through that site as well. And we're on Instagram, as we were kind enough to show, the reactive_training. I'm on there personally at function.first.
Gotcha.
On IG. And
for trainers listening, that's probably where I would send you from the research I've done. Like I said, I watched a couple hours worth of stuff yesterday. Instagram has incredible knowledge base of movements. There are dozens of different coaches and athletes using the Core-Tex in a variety of different ways. If you're looking to get this, program it in some way, and you're just drawing a blank on what you want to do, go on there, save some of those movements to your folders. There are some great things on there.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff, really creative stuff. And, you can do your planks and your push-ups on there, and everybody does. But when you start to explore a little bit, you'll just be really excited about kind of some of the opportunities that you'll find it presents.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Anthony, thank you so much for coming on again.
Thank you,
I really do appreciate it. Very, very good episode.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
All good, Eli?